Guys, welcome to Starling on Cinemas, and that's Cinemas with an S. And today I will be giving you my re-review of The Hate U Give. And the reason why I'm doing this is because we've been going through a lot of tough times lately. Like, there have been riots, there have been lootings, there have been police brutalities, and this is all due to the death of George Floyd. And I just thought, you know what? Why don't I start a series of movies that center on corrupt cops because that seems like one of the biggest issues today. Movies that centers not only on corrupt cops, but like protesting and anything that supports or advocates for the statement of Black Lives Matter. So, re-review of The Hate U Give. So here we go. Starr Carter is constantly switching between two worlds: the poor, most black neighborhood where she lives, Garden Heights, and the wealthy, most preppy white school, Williamson High, that she attends. The uneasy balance between these worlds is soon shattered when she witnesses the fatal shooting of her childhood best friend, Khalil Harris, just like George Floyd, at the hands of a police officer. Facing pressure from all sides of the community, Starr must find her voice and decide to stand up for what's right. Now, about the story of The Hate U Give. The story of The Hate U Give is such a revolutionary tale that stands the test of time. It's based on the best-selling book. If you've read it, I assume, if you've seen the movie, that you must have read the book after you saw the movie, like I did. It's written by Angie Thomas on how to use your voice to stand up against racial injustice and police brutality. Because there was this quote that she said in the beginning of the book that states, and I quote, "What is the point of having a voice when we refuse to use it in the times when we should?" Like, the story possesses many different answers to questions that we all have, such as, why do people drug deal? Why is the police system so flawed? Why is it so? What is the importance of having a voice, and etc.? Any other questions? The book and the movie both are inspired and given major thrust by the acronym Thug Life, spoken by Tupac Shakur, which stands for The Hate U Give, Little Infants F's Everybody. In other words, whatever we expose to the younger generation determines how they grow up to become. And this is what we see too much in our society nowadays. These young kids, specifically young men like myself who are my age, get exposed to all this violence and prejudice, and we end up growing up with all that stuff, all that hate, and all of that raw nature in our hearts, that we end up growing into monsters. This is pretty much the basic premise, and this right here is pretty much the basic premise that culminates into a final confrontation between the father and King, the head of the local gangs, only so we can see that it results in the younger brother pulling out a gun, which is just poetic. One of the most relatable aspects, this is like all things police brutality, all things serious aside, one of the most relatable aspects in this movie is Starr's whole logic about being a different version of herself. And this is something I'm sure everybody does at school. If not everybody, most people. Because she knows that even though Williamson High School is mostly full of white students who use black slang towards her, she feels the pressure to talk different or act differently. Starr knows that the minute she uses it, how she puts it, the minute that she uses it, they will perceive her as hood or ghetto. The characters. The characters were one of the best parts of this movie. Like, Amandla Stenberg's character of Starr Carter is just spot on and strong. She represents somebody who is seemingly facing pressure every day. Now, even before her best friend died. This is something she has to go through every day. Like she has with this discussion on her boyfriend during the prom scene. She's saying that when she's at home, she can't act too Williamson. And when she's at school, she can't act too Garden Heights. And that's the logic she has to go through every single day. Well, that's pretty interesting and relatable character writing right there. And one of the best things about these characters in the movie is that they each provide Starr with some kind of support, advice, or empathy. Let's start out with Khalil Harris, her friend. This is something that he said to her a couple of minutes before he died. Starr's best friend is the one that gives the explanation on the titular acronym Thug Life. Starr's father, Maverick Carter, offers insight as to why people in poor neighborhoods are so desperate to deal drugs. That's one of the best scenes. I recommend you go watch it. If you're not gonna watch the movie, this is one of the best scenes I have seen. Their names. There were two instances where Maverick talked to Starr and Seven, Starr's brother, about the importance of having a voice. We saw this in the beginning, and we saw this get repeated towards like the middle of the movie, talking about the importance of having a voice, and that when you need to talk, you had better talk and don't let nobody silence you. And the importance of having the meanings and the power in your names. And even like I said, Starr's boyfriend Chris represents how empathetic somebody should be in a relationship. Lisa Carter gives a little advice about teaching the concept of forgiving and moving on, because we get all this friction between her and her friend played by Sabrina Carpenter, which y'all know from Girl Meets World on the Disney Channel. We get all this friction between those two because after Hailey was defending that cop's family, she decided to Starr that was a little offending, considering that that's the same officer that killed her best friend. So that's where it all started. It's a long story. But then Anthony Mackie's character represents a reason as to why somebody doesn't want to snitch. Issa Rae's character, my girl Issa, represents someone whose mission is to respond to injustice with peaceful protesting. And this is like, watching this, the time I watched this movie was just so perfect. Like, I knew the minute I saw the news and what was going on around the world in states like here in Atlanta, Colorado, and all over the country, I knew that this was the perfect movie to re-review for y'all. Because y'all know, if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see that I already have a review. But this is like a re-review. But to me, it's a real review because I got the format. This is like, during this time with my reviews, I finally have a good format, which is something I'm definitely keeping up. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 97% score. And The Hate U Give is one of the, if not the most impactful and revolutionizing stories that will go down in history as a relevant piece of poetic justice. But due to the size of the scope and relevant themes and compelling characters, it's not the deepest and most intimate drama, but it is the best I have seen so far. So I will give it 9.8 Essos out of 10 Essos. So that's my re-review on The Hate U Give. You can let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. How would you compare this? Do you think would you compare a couple of things in this movie that you would going on now in the world? You can let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.